trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Hail, Holy Queen, mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To you do we cry, to you do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then us to grace no hands of mercy for us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary, pray for us, O Holy Mother of God, that we may be made worthy of the promises of Christ. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Father.
How is the political fever? You know, I think there's just something very important we need to talk about in terms of, that. Because what happens is that even well-meaning people, even people who profess to be people of faith, when we come to these, political, social issues, many people forget the faith. And so it becomes about, political ideology, social ideology, and then the faith comes like secondary. So it has to be, we have to be very, very, clear about some of these things. Okay, so two things. Number one, okay, the end never justifies evil means. Okay? So one can say, well, I want to feed the poor. So what am I going to do? I'm going to steal from Steve Wynn. Okay? You can't do that. The end never justifies the means. Okay? And another principle is evil we must never choose evil. Okay? So there is no such a thing. There, is morally or there is no such a thing. There is no such a thing as choosing a lesser evil. Why? Because evil must never be willed or chosen willfully, okay? Under the guise of losing a lesser evil. Okay, so we have to be very careful in our social political discourse not to forget that we are Christians. Okay? The end never justifies the means. Okay, for example, there are many social things we are concerned about. Okay? And rightly so. For example, Congress, would we vote to go there? The Supreme Court, who is voted to go there? But one thing we have to remember is what Jesus Christ, Jesus our Master, said. What good does it benefit you to conquer the whole world and forfeit your soul and lose your soul? Okay? What good is it to conquer the whole world and lose your soul? What good is it to conquer Congress, to conquer the Supreme Court and lose your soul? So we must never look at an end and justify evil means. So today we have this, politics, polarizing like politics on both extremes. So you have the extreme here of, people. We are discussing this in view. These are principles, which govern our social political discourse, moral principles that should govern it. We are not saying vote for this one or vote this particular person, but the principle that should govern a believer, a Christian. So, just to clarify these principles and never justify the means, in politics now, we have people who are, let's say, for abortion. Basically, abortion is the willful killing of innocence in the womb. We're going to discuss that in a bit later. Killing an innocent child in the womb. What we have to remember is this, that when Jesus Christ becomes incarnate, he doesn't become incarnate when he is born. He becomes incarnate, as scripture tells us, and he became man. The word became flesh. Not when he was born, but when he was conceived in the womb of the Virgin Mary. So when Jesus Christ says that I identify with with your neighbor, I was hungry, thirsty, whatever I was, weak, and you came to my aid or didn't come to my aid, Jesus Christ talks about that in every way he is recognizable. In every way he comes to us. So Jesus Christ comes to us as an incarnate child. And so that incarnate child is our neighbor. And we must see Christ in the incarnate child. So if we think that, well, children in the womb are not human beings, then we're saying that, well, Jesus, you are incarnate, but I don't think you are human. That's what we are telling you. So if we recognize Christ in those in need, how much more should we recognize him in the most innocent and the weakest? Namely, those in the womb. When Jesus visits Elizabeth, Elizabeth is filled with the Holy Spirit. The child in her womb leapt for joy because of the presence of God in the womb of Mary. So God became man. And God become man is in the womb of Mary, and we must recognize that Jesus. That's why we celebrate the incarnation. That's why we celebrate Christmas. Christmas is basically we are celebrating Word become flesh. In a sense, the incarnation. And so we must recognize Jesus Christ for who he is. Think about this. Usually we label people out there we see as evil people. For example, how many people, when you talk about Hitler, will say you're talking about a good man? Why do we call Hitler evil? At least as far as we can look at what he did. Why do we call him the butcher of Germany? We call him all different names. Why? Because he killed innocent people. He did not only kill Jews, but he killed over 6 million Jews. As we said before, 1 million people is a lot of people. But just killing 6 million people who have not done nothing wrong to you, who are not fighting you, but just because you don't like them. You dehumanize them, you kill them. So that's why we call that man evil. But remember that evil man, rightly called evil, right? That evil man, when he did those things, many people were not aware of what was going on. Why? Because he did it in hiding. Why did he hide it? Because he knew it was wrong. He knew it was evil. He hid it. Now tell me who is worse? Hitler, or meaning us, our societies. Hitler did evil in hiding because he knew it was evil. We do it legally in these public legal places called abortion clinics. And we kill every year more than 1 million of our own. legally. Remember, a few months ago, a month or two ago, when that man shot 59 people here in Las Vegas. It was everywhere, all over the world, because a crazy person just killed people, 59 of them, just innocent people going about their business, and someone shoots them. And there was a public outcry, not only in Las Vegas here, but the whole world over. But if we ask ourselves, how many children that day were aborted in Las Vegas? And where is the outcry? In the US alone every day, over 3,000, there are over 3,600 abortions. More than 9/11. So there is a massacre of the magnitude of 9/11 every day in the US. Look at the resources we have put into fighting terrorism since 9/11, 2001. How many billions? Probably we're now in trillions. Fighting terrorism, and rightly so, because they are bad people. They kill people. What do we do? Since 9/11, how many children have we killed in the US under the guise of abortion and women's rights? How many? You figure, and over 1 million a year since 2000 and what? How many? 16 million. But we still talk about terrorism out there. 4,000 to 16 million. But evil people are over there. You see the disconnect. Why? Those so-called evil people, they dehumanize us, so it becomes easy to kill. What do? We dehumanize our own and we exterminate them. So abortion is so gross. That's why, the people say, oh, the Catholic Church is a single issue, whatever. Yes, because without life, there's nothing else to talk about. Because you can't talk about anything if you're dead. There's nothing to discuss. Okay? So that's why we are very adamant about that. That extreme. But also, evil is a totality. And it must always be looked at as a totality. Remember, the end never justifies the means. Okay? So we can have a candidate here who, let's use again the theme of the time. I don't even want to call it misconduct. What is a misconduct? It's the evil, okay? People who abuse people. People who don't respect any people. People who think that a woman is simply an object to be there to be tossed about, whatever. So, I'm not saying that anybody is guilty of this or whatever, but at least we know it's happening. We know people are resigning over this and so on and so forth. So, a Catholic cannot say that I abhor evil on that end, but this is a lesser evil, so I can look away because of the end in view. If we do that, then we have no more authority to critique these people. Because we have done exactly what they do. Because to them, the end, political power and control or whatever justifies the means. But now we also, I don't mean asking, but people can be lowered into this thinking, we also now can employ and justify evil means because of what we perceive as a good end. So who has the upper moral ground? You see how we can lose credibility if we become like the people we criticize. So we have to look at everything in its totality. Okay? The end does not justify the means. If the means are evil, we must never will it or choose it. Because there is no such a thing as choosing a lesser evil. Evil must never be willed, must never be chosen under any circumstances. Now, what some people confuse as choosing a lesser evil, okay, which is never there, is called the principle double effect. This is a moral principle. It's called the principle of double effect. The principle of double effect is not choosing a lesser evil. Okay? The principle of double effect is foreseeing an evil consequence of what I'm going to choose. I'm choosing the good. But the good I choose may have an evil consequence, which I foresee, but that's not what I'm choosing. That's not what I'm willing. Usually the simplest example is when you have a mother who is pregnant, and then her uterus is all cancerous. It must be removed. So what medicine is doing is removing a cancerous uterus so that the cancer does not spread. So that is not evil, it is good. But in doing so, you foresee that a child in the womb is going to die. But that's not what I'm choosing. I'm not choosing abortion. It's simply an evil effect of the good I am choosing. So that's the principle of double effect. It's not choosing a lesser evil, because evil must never be willed or chosen. Okay, so we have always to keep that in mind. In our social political discourse, those principles have to be kept in mind. The end never justifies the means. Okay. So, we always have to think in terms of that. Okay, yes, I may be worked up about people going to Congress, and we have to, because we have the obligation to transform the earthly city. And so that's why we need good people like in politics and social policies to basically do things, although it's just a temporal city, but to basically put in place systems, things that will promote heaven, okay? That will promote basically the principles of our Christian faith, because they are good human principles. Okay? They are revealed principles which God intended for us to be good, to be happy. So we have to keep that in mind. But we can't use any evil means. We can't choose anything evil in order to achieve that purpose. Because if we do, we are basically defeating our own cause. So we have to keep that in mind. The end never justifies the means. We can't use evil means under the guise of a lesser evil to a good end. It doesn't work. Because that's always the devil always does that. He promises us the good. Remember the temptations of Jesus. He took him up over whatever, parapet of the temple, showed him everything, all the earthly goods, okay? All those are mine. And I will give everything to you. Okay, thank you, give it to me. There's a condition. What do you have to do? Bow down and worship. Then I will give you those things. The gifts of creation are not evil. Remember that. The gifts of creation are good because God himself declared them good. So creation is very good. But God didn't give us those good things to worship them. To use them to worship him. But in order for me to get those things, to bow down to evil, because I want those good things, the means are evil. And therefore I can't succumb to evil in order to achieve a good. Okay. So we keep that in mind every time we get worked up about social policy, political things, and so on and so forth. We have to keep this in mind that these principles should guide all the decisions we make. Yes, the world is good, material creation is good, politics is good, our countries are good, but Jesus told us, you are in the world, but you are not of this world. So if we use evil means to achieve temporal ends, then we are of this world. But we are not of this world. What good is it to conquer the whole world, to conquer politically? Oh, we are Democrats, we won. Republicans, we won. If we are forfeiting our soul. It's so disturbing to see, this man, we can talk about him because it's public knowledge, this man who won the election in Alabama said publicly, they were questioning him about abortion, and they said, what about pregnancies after 20 weeks? He said categorically that a woman has a right to her body. If she wants to do it, it's her whatever. And then you hear people say, well, decency won. What is decent about that? Integrity won, decency won. What is decent about that? This is not decent. This is not decent. So there's nothing decent about this decency won in terms of what? In sending another legislator or in sending another legislator, you see the dilemma. Decency one. Wow, what is decent? About someone who believes that life should be destroyed, that a person decides who is human and who is not. Like if a man forces a woman to have an abortion, the man can be charged for murder. But if a woman chooses it, then it's okay. So it depends on how we define a human being that makes them either human or not. But then the question is, who is a human being? A human being can be defined we're not defined according to the whims and wants of some people. We are defined by who we are, not what a person may think we are. A woman can be killed and she's pregnant and they charge the murderer for 2 murders. But when a woman kills, it's okay, it's not a murder, it's her own body. So you see those contradictions. Okay? But for us, I think Catholics, Christians, we should never forget what guides our every area of life. Whether social, political, spiritual, moral, intellectual, you name it. There have to be guiding principles that govern our decision making. We should not act like everyone else. However passionate we may be about these things, we shouldn't forget who we are. Okay? Yes.
Father, is these people that do the abortion, they just like the Nazis, they have a very good excuse, because the government or whoever said that the fetus was not a person, was not a living.
Yes, but it's not a good excuse. You can call it an evil excuse, because there's nothing good about that excuse. Because it's just a person is stupefying himself or herself. We're basically just turning away from the truth they can understand and see. But it's a deliberate refusal to see. Not that they cannot see.
How would they know? And they said it and they passed it as a law that a fetus is not alive.
It is.
That is not a person.
It is evil. Once we give in to evil, we become evil. But also what I'm saying is that we can recognize that evil, but let us not also ignore other evils under the guise of a lesser evil. Because if we do that, we too become evil. Okay? So that's how everybody can go down the drain. And so there's no good anymore. There's no light anymore. Okay? Okay, so, but the way they do that, you listen to what Jesus defines here. Let's end this with this text. John chapter 8. beginning with verse 43. John 8. Are we there? John chapter 8, verse 43. We begin with 43. It's a long discourse, okay? Chapter 8. But you listen. That's why this is the reason I was emphasizing that the church teaching emphasize that we must never choose evil. John, the Gospel of John chapter 8, beginning with verse 43. Okay? To look at this, that once we start opening a window, a crack for evil, evil will knock down walls. We cannot say, well, it's just a little bit of evil. You see, it's never a little bit of evil. Once we open the door, evil will knock down walls. That's what evil does. So we can't choose evil under any circumstance. So again, but we are lured because of the nature of the lies of the devil. So listen to this. Why do you not understand what I'm saying? That's when Jesus is telling them about who he is, God, and so on and so forth. And then he asks, why do you not understand what I'm saying? And he answers the question. Because you cannot bear to hear my word. Why can't they bear to hear his word? Because his word is truth, and they don't like it. Okay? You can't bear to hear my word. You belong to your father, the devil, and you willingly carry out your father's desires. No, not that. The devil is a father. And what do fathers have?
Offspring.
Children. Yes. They have children. So the devil has agents. You belong to your father, the devil. And you willingly carry out your father's desires. That's why, for example, we always refer to abortion as an evil project. This idea of saying, well, people, you have to be very tender or whatever. Tender about what? This is evil. Abortion is the devil's project. Because that's what he does. Hear what Jesus says next, okay? So they willingly carry out their father's desires. What are the desires of their father? He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. If there is no truth in a person, what happens? You become a murderer. That's what the opposite of truth does. Okay? Because there is no, you willingly carry out your father's desires. So you cannot be a murderer and say you are not evil. Because we know who the murderer is. The murderer from the beginning is the devil. And whoever murders carries out his father's desires. So like these terrorists who kill people and they say, Allah Akbar, God is great. They're not referring to God, the God of Christians, the God of Abraham. They're referring to their God, the devil. And they're willingly carrying out their father's desires. God does not destroy. God does not kill. The devil kills because he's a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in truth because there is no truth in him. Now listen to these things. The lies. You see how they cover the lies. The choice. Whatever now they call the fetus, this is what they call the fetus now. So it's like deceptive language. Why? Because they are using the language of their father. That's why we should not succumb to that kind of thing on the other end. Both extremes are evil. You see what I mean? So, he does not stand because there is no truth in him. When he tells a lie, he speaks in character because he is a liar and the father of lies. So when the devil lies, don't accuse him of lying. That's who he is. He's acting in character. So if these people lie, if these people of the other extreme lie, don't think that it's out of character. When we give in to the devil, that's who we become. And that's what we do. Because that's what the devil does. So we shouldn't do anything that would make us in principle to act like the father of lies or the murderer. By deceiving ourselves or succumbing to his deceptions, that there could be evil, but there is such a thing as a lesser evil. So you can choose that. No. In other words, we cannot say, if you're given a change, you're in a tight situation, choose between, let's say, if this is the choice you're given, choose between an abortionist, a murderer, and a sex abuser, a pedophile, or whatever sex abuser, a rapist. So what do? Given that choice, choose between a murderer and a rapist. What do you choose? What do you take?
They're both murderers.
What do you choose? You see, with the deception of a lesser evil, one could say, well, a rapist. But the principle, you see, okay, between a murderer and a rapist, what do you choose? If you succumb to choosing a lesser evil, you're going to end up choosing a. Who do you end up choosing? If you succumb to this false principle, choosing a lesser evil, you may end up saying, well, murder and rape, what do I choose? Nothing. Okay? You don't choose anything. Because it is evil, and evil must never be willed or chosen. Okay? Right. Because if you do that, the devil is happy. Remember, the devil does things in incremental doses. Gives you a dose, and you get really excited, then before you know it, you are drunk. Keeps giving you an incremental dose. So once we open the door, we are in trouble. That's why, as Christians, as Catholics, we should at least try our best to follow the church law of going to confession at least once a year. Because the devil is injecting that dose incrementally. So before I know it, if I don't basically go to confession, whatever, before I know it, I'm now to evil. Things I saw as weird before are no longer weird because I have become callous now. So, okay. So that's it. So this is that's what the church does. The church doesn't tell you vote for this person or that person. No. The church provides us with principles that govern moral choices. So if you're choosing, keep this in mind. So if you see that this person reflects what you believe, fine. But if they don't, what good is it to conquer the world and lose your soul? So people say, well, I have a duty to vote. Yes, it's a civic duty, but it's not an absolute duty. That I have to choose between, for example, an abortionist, a killer, and a rapist. If that's the choice, then I have to vote. I don't have to vote. It's not an absolute duty and right. Yes, it's a good duty, civic duty, and it is our right as citizens to do it. But it's not an absolute duty. God will not ask me, okay, you had these two people, why didn't you vote? My salvation does not depend on choosing this candidate or that candidate. My salvation depends on making good, sound, moral choices. Okay? Yes. Okay. The offering. what is offered. So we're on number what? Number
3.
Number 3, all creation is offered. But this is one of the things we should always keep in mind. Because sometimes all these things disturb us, the bad things that go on around us. So we get disturbed. But we forget to do the right thing. And the primary thing, and our primary duty to do what? To offer everything to God. We argue and hate one another and do whatever, but forget to offer everything to God. So thirdly, we offer, so number 1, Christ is offered, we are offered. Number 3, we offer all creation to God, all creation, thereby consecrating the world itself to Him. Our duty is to consecrate. What is consecration? To make holy. What is to make holy? To make good according to God's revelation. Not good according to how I understand it. But good as God reveals it. That's the meaning of holiness. That's the meaning of consecration. So God created the world and He intended the whole creation to glorify Him. Sin disrupts that process. So we go and consecrate the whole world to God so that all people may formally glorify God with their lives and all creation materially glorify God, the Creator. So in the most blessed Eucharist is contained the whole spiritual good of the church, namely Christ Himself, our Passover. There is no good that is not contained in Christ. There is no good that is outside of God. He is the fullness of goodness. So it cannot be, well, there's good there, we need to patch up and add on to God. No. So thus, the faithful are invited to and led to offer themselves, their works, and all creation with Christ. So if it is our social discourse that is whatever political discourse, intellectual discourse, offer it to God. One of the things we have to keep in mind is this. Sometimes you get angry about things, about people's choices and what we do ourselves. Sometimes we get angry with ourselves, what we choose, but also people's choices out there. You say, why do people do this? Why do people do this? And we get angry about it. But then we forget that I'm so angry and worked up about this, and I can't even sleep and have to tell everybody how angry I am. But I only see partially. I don't see the totality of evil. It's like if you stand at a distance, you can see all this. But if you come here and put your head here, you see only part. So this is who we are in God's mega plan. We don't see the total picture, we only see this. But God sees the total picture. Just think about this. All the evil that's going on right now, the people are being murdered, the children who are being aborted, children who are being abused, people who are being beaten up, raped, and all those kinds of things. God sees everything instantaneously and contemporaneously. He sees it instantly and all of it at the same time. I mean, if God were a human being and if you would think like me, probably I would, if I were God, if I can't be, but if I were God, what would I do with creation? Just annihilate it, I don't want to deal with that. But He doesn't. He doesn't do it. But we who are evil, God is all good, but we who are evil, who only see partially, not the total picture of evil, but partially, get so worked up and so angry that we want to destroy everything. But God doesn't. So whenever we are so angry about things, we have always to catch ourselves and see, and basically recognize that God sees everything. If He doesn't destroy these people, why do I think this way? If He doesn't destroy this person, why do I think this way? If God doesn't do it, my thinking is misguided. So it doesn't mean that I should ignore evil. No. But what that should help me to do is to know that God, in your mega plan, you ask me to do something. Help me to know what your will is for me under these particular circumstances. And once I do my will, the rest is up to God. But if we get so angry and worked up, we're not even thinking about what God's will is for us under the circumstances, and we become part of the problem. Because we are not doing what we are supposed to do. Because we are very angry about things. So we have also to keep that in perspective. If we keep that in perspective, it helps us to basically offer creation to God. Offer all people to God, including the people we may not naturally like. But because now we are not thinking from our human point of view, but from God's point of view, then we are able to do what God wills. But if I look at it from my point of view, then I will not do it. How often do we go to Mass and deliberately refuse to pray for particular people? Not only that we refuse to pray for them, but we do what I can call maybe a disprayer, which we may call prayer. We will and wish evil things to happen to them. And we're asking God to do it. God, please. We're asking God to do it.
I guess people were praying to God for Obama to die, right?
He's asking God to do it. And woman, she's a hypocrite. She comes to Mass every day, but she's evil. God. As if God, doesn't know about him, We do those things. We are crazy. Spiritually speaking. But we do that because we are all too human and we're looking at things from a human point of view. But if we change and see that God, you see these things, help me to acquire your mind, your attitude, your heart, and see from your point of view, then our attitude, our problems may not change, our challenges may not change, but we are growing spiritually and our attitude changes. And that changes the way we act, the way we behave, the way we approach people, including our so-called enemies. But from just a human dimension, a human perspective, we just can't do it. That's why we need to pray for the grace of God to be able to offer ourselves, to offer our works, to offer all creation with Christ. Our works. Some of us are so prideful about the things we do. We want everybody to know, not in a good way, because in a good way, God says, Jesus tells us, people must see your good works. You know that. God tells us that. And then do what? People must see the good you do and then put you on a pedestal. Right? What does God say? They should see your good works and give glory to your heavenly Father. That's the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5, Matthew chapter 5. Okay? So, our good works must be seen, but not to glorify me, but to glorify the Father who does this good in us. So we shouldn't be, it's prideful for one to say, to do good and say, no, it's not good. It's good. But the glory doesn't come to me, it goes to the Father. If it doesn't go to the Father, then I'm a Pharisee. I did it. The Pharisees, they pull out the wallet, they see people passing by, they blow a trumpet, people look, and they give money to the poor. They have received their reward. So we shouldn't hide the good we do. But when we do it, we shouldn't do it for our glory, but for the glory of God. So, we offer our works to God. Everything we do must be offered to God. Because when we offer everything to God, our works, then in that spirit we have talked about, from God's point of view, seeing from His point of view, then it takes away human pride. that I do this, I'm better at this, I do this, you know, I do better than him, you know, I do this better than her, that goes away. Because everything now is done for the glory of God, because I'm able to offer it to him. You see that? So it's no longer about me, but it's about God who does good for me, God who does good for us. So that's how we offer creation. That's how we offer our works. Okay? So, but what does it mean to offer creation to God, seeing that it already belongs to him? So all creation belongs to God. So how can we offer to God what belongs to him? You know, like in my tribe, we have a king, but traditionally, when you bring a gift to the king, which you must do, okay? But when you bring a gift to the king doesn't say thank you. Why? Because everything in the kingdom belongs to him. So when you give a gift to the king, you say thank you to the king. Yes, because everything belongs to him. So we can transfer that to the great king, our God. Everything belongs to him. Okay? So how can we offer creation to God, to whom all creation belongs? This is what we do when we offer creation to God. Number one, we acknowledge God as creator and Lord of all things, and commit ourselves to direct our use of creatures and our human world to him, their final end. This is very important. We acknowledge God as creator and Lord of all things. So that's why we say, blessed be God. So we are not giving God blessings, because God is the source of all blessings. When we say, blessed be God, we are acknowledging that God is the source of all blessings. That I am a creature and I totally depend on you. So that's the meaning of offering creation to God. I'm a creature, I totally depend on you because everything comes from you. That's why we offer creation to God. Okay? And then commit ourselves to direct our use of creatures and our human world to him. So this is very important. Commit ourselves to direct our use of creatures. You know very well as adults that creatures can easily take us away from God. We worship the creature instead of the creator, as St. Paul says in Romans. It's very easy to worship the creature rather than the creator. Worship money, worship whatever, rather than the creator. So when we offer creation to God, we are saying to God that, God, I have these disorderly attachments to the goods of creation, because creation is good, but I have a disorderly attachment to the goods of creation. So by offering creation to you, I'm asking you to direct my intellect, to direct my will, to direct my passions, emotions, so that my entire affective self, so that I may use these things for your greater glory, for my salvation and the salvation of all. That's why we offer creation to God, so that God may assist us to use it for what it is intended, namely to lead us to him, not away from him. That's why we offer creation to him. And our human world, all of creation, their final end. Why do we do that? Because